can't remember the last time I used this thing. I'm on the main PC, bruh. I don't know what the hell does that even mean, bruh? Okay, it's right in there.
On the 20th of February 2018, approximately 5 months after the release of Fortnite Battle Royale, the TSM YouTube channel would upload a video to the platform titled Introducing TSM Fortnite. The video introduced 4 professional Fortnite players who had been chosen to represent the highly respected esports organization known as Team Solo Mid, or TSM for short. The first player on the team was known as I Am The Myth, who boasted rank number 1 in the solos playlist and was often argued to be the best player in the world alongside Ninja.
I'd say at your peak you were the number 2 to Ninja.
Given his skill level and high status in the Fortnite scene, he was given the task of finding 3 other players for the pro team, and would initially choose a player by the name of Hamlins, who at the time was ranked number 3 in the solos playlist, had a win rate of almost 50% and a kill death ratio of almost 14. Next, Myth would choose a player by the name of Daquan, who shone as an outstanding solo v squad player and had placed first in many of the Season 1 Invitational Pro matches.
Let's go, baby! Let's go!
Finally, Myth would choose a player by the name of Camilles, who had been a part of a team who held the world record for the most kills in a single squad game.
Let's go! 50! Let's go, man!
Comments on the introductory video such as "This team is insane," "These 4 rolling together is a legitimate death squad," and "Can't wait to see these guys compete" displayed the high expectations held for what seemed like Fortnite's most unbreakable professional team. However, to say that these expectations weren't lived up to would be a monumental understatement. In fact, TSM's original Fortnite Pro team can only be described as a catastrophic failure on so many different levels. Within months, players were being kicked for a lack of performance, the team was being trolled to unimaginable heights over on Reddit, there were instances where half the team decided not to show up to pro events, and when they did, you never saw a TSM player placing anywhere near the top of the leaderboard. Some couldn't handle the pressure, others fell out of the spotlight, and eventually in February 2021, TSM would announce that they would drop the entire Fortnite team and leave the competitive scene. With such a massive disconnect between expectation and reality, there's only one question left to ask. What could have possibly gone wrong? Well, let's start by looking at this comment on the introductory video, which stated, "Imagine these 4 in a squad, that would be insane." Well, the audience will be treated to such a viewing experience when, shortly after the announcement of the team, Myth would upload their first squad video together on his personal channel under the title Introducing TSM Fortnite, Fortnite BR for Match. The video featured the 4 previously mentioned players, being Myth, Hamlins, Daquan, and Camilles, with the most notable part of this nonchalant game being that morale between the 4 players was incredibly high. They joked and laughed about having joined TSM.
Sunday, you joined TSM?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Wow. How'd you do that?
Casual.
Displayed their ability to work extremely well as a team, and ultimately ended the video with their first win together. These guys were obviously going to have no problem annihilating in a standard lobby as a full squad. The game was still full of new players, and as previously mentioned, these guys were basically the best of the best, each of which having played since day 1. The issue was that in the beginning, Fortnite hadn't begun to host any professional tournaments, and there was therefore no way to put them up against other professional players. There was Fortnite Friday hosted by Keemstar, which many of these new TSM members would perform extremely well in. However, there weren't any actual official Fortnite tournaments where pros could directly play against other pro players. That would be until approximately 2 months after the formation of the TSM team, when Ninja would announce that he'd be hosting the first ever professional Fortnite event in Las Vegas on the 21st of April 2018.
There's an event that's being held on April 21st. Daddy's gonna be there, live, streaming at this event.
At this point in time, there was a consistent argument about whether it was Myth or Ninja who held the crown of Fortnite's best player.
No, he wants to kill me. Wait, why? Because we are the rivalry of the community.
So it only made sense that Myth would be invited to the event, where he would attempt to establish TSM's reputation in one of the first professional Fortnite tournaments.
Considering I've never been to a gaming event or a competitive gaming event ever, like where I'm actually playing in front of people or it's being like broadcasted live.
While Myth's spirits were high as he entered the doors of the esports arena,
Our primary thing that we're going to be doing is taking out Ninja, okay? Keep it on the low, all right? But that's the plan.
he wasn't scheduled to play until the 7th, 8th, and 9th game of the event, so he sat there watching Ninja take out numerous other players while the pressure continued to mount.
It's time to get up close and personal. Pump shotgun out. Ninja looking for the fight. Whips the first shot. Whips the second. The challenge comes in. Can Ninja win his first game? The Rockets are out. Yeah! Ninja!
Goom, goom.
It's hard to tell exactly what Myth had been feeling as he sat down to play the first of his 3 games, but whether it was excitement, adrenaline, or complete and utter anxiety, it would unfortunately lead Myth to perform far below the crowd's expectations. In the first game, while engaged in a build battle, Myth would jump as another player placed a ramp above him, causing him to fall to his death, resulting in a placement of 13th out of 100 players. In the second game, he'd be killed in an off-spawn 1v1 assault rifle fight, placing him at 48th out of 100 players.
And Myth goes down.
And in the last game, there's no footage or explanation for what happened to Myth. However, the commentators mention his death with 52 players remaining.
I just received word that Myth is dead. I've just received word that Myth is down. Oh my goodness, folks.
Another early exit.
Showing that he had likely died off spawn within only minutes of landing. The placement of 13th, 48th, and 52nd was somewhat embarrassing for a guy who was widely argued to be one of the best players in the game, and all in all, it showed that while Myth was an incredibly good entertainer and public match player, perhaps himself and therefore possibly even the TSM team selected by him were going to need far more practice on the professional side of things. In order to get this practice, approximately 1 month after the Vegas Ninja event, the team would announce that they would all be moving to LA to live in a streamer house together.
And I'm ready to go to that house and I'm super excited. Literally. I'm like ready to see it. We're gonna get that team synergy. We're gonna create a brotherhood and win them tourneys, baby. That's what we do.
In the house, they would begin to improve as a squad, uploading Fortnite videos, random challenges, and even posting full-blown documentary-style videos titled Meet TSM Daekwon or Meet TSM Myth, going into depth with their full story up until the point of moving into the TSM house together. The team seemingly had this strong, unbreakable bond that hadn't been seen with any other Fortnite team.
I met Daekwon yesterday. Then me and Myth just met, and Myth just looked at the house. It's amazing. Yeah.
And it was no wonder that people had high expectations for the group.
This house is going to be used to make the dank Fortnite content and dominate the comp scene, baby.
Myth, Hamlins, and Daekwon played regularly together after moving into the TSM house, getting ready for the pro scene, which was still heating up, as would be stated by the TSM founder and owner, Andy Din.
You know, I'm so hyped for the esports scene for Fortnite, but it's honestly not going to come out for like another year. So it's just like, just chill for now.
However, Camille's, the final player in the squad, perhaps took the chill message a little too seriously, as it would become apparent that he hadn't been practicing, and his skill level as a Fortnite player was dragging significantly behind the rest of the group. Camille's moved into the TSM house in late May 2018, approximately 1 week after the other 3 members.
And we're waiting for the final member who saved the best for last. Put it in a separate video. Mills.
But less than 2 months later, in early July 2018, videos will pop up on YouTube like this one titled Daekwon and Hamlins react to awful play by Camille's in tournament. Is he getting kicked from TSM? Which gained over 500,000 views.
Build up, brother. Build up, brother. Oh my God. No.
One thing was blatantly obvious. While Camille's was incredibly skilled in Season 1 and 2 when he was first recruited for TSM, his skill had dropped off dramatically by Season 3 and 4 when the pro scene was starting to get serious. The previously mentioned video displaying the awful play by Camille's would receive comments such as, "No offense, but Camille's is the weakest player in TSM and should be replaced with someone like Crafty or High Distortion." Being said this, time to bench Camille's for High Distortion, and he shouldn't be in TSM. While these were just the opinions of the audience, TSM actually seemed to have the same idea, as only 13 days later, the TSM Twitter page would tweet, "TSM Fortnite roster changes, TSM Camille's has been benched. We are looking for a more permanent fourth. We will be doing tryouts for the position." No. Only 56 days after moving into the TSM house, Camille's would be removed from the pro team and was forced to move back home.
So as you guys heard, I officially got put on the sub team. There's a lot of people's sides of it, of me not working hard enough, or me not, you know, putting enough hours in, which essentially I guess is true, but it's more to it than that.
The other players explained that they like Camille's as a person. However, at the end of the day, they tried to help him to improve, but he simply couldn't keep up with the other players on the TSM Pro team.
He just didn't play enough. His work ethic isn't really there. That's all it really is.
We wanted him to improve so bad, and I told him, I was like, bro, I need you to improve. We had gave him like a long time so that, you know, he started, you know, like taking it more seriously.
This seemed to put a huge dent in the spirit and structure of the team, considering they no longer had a permanent fourth player to practice with or rely on for upcoming tournaments, and as a result, the goals held by the remaining 3 players seemed to misalign. Myth continued to grind scrims and practice against other pro players, however Daequan and Hamlins took a different approach by focusing on improving their stream and public match skills. Now, this is understandable, as it's probably what would have been bringing in the most money for them at the time. However, as Fortnite was getting more serious about pro events, the decision to focus on content creation began to damage their reputation as professional players, especially after one specific event in September of 2018. It was the largest professional event to date, with Fortnite offering their biggest prize pool ever of $1.5 million to be split between the 100 finalists. It was week 8 of the Summer Skirmish, held at PAX West, hosted over a period of 4 days. In order to qualify and make it into the finals, players would have to place in the top 33 out of 99 total competitors in their qualifying matches. The first player up was Myth, who despite having put in the hours to practice against other pro players, would perform poorly in the skirmish, being unable to achieve a single point and therefore failing to qualify for the finals or even in the top 50.
Earlier Myth's elimination earlier on King, but Myth goes down to Jake Petty. And that is the end of the event for TSM's Myth.
However, despite Myth's poor performance, it was still far better than the other 2 remaining members, Daequan and Hamlins, who chose not to attend the event at all. In the days following, Reddit would begin to clown on TSM in posts such as this one reading, "I am disappointed in the TSM Fortnite team. The biggest event in competitive Fortnite history happened this weekend. Only one member of the TSM team, Myth, even bothered to attend and compete in the event. Myth has proven that he really cares about competing, streaming less and grinding scrims more to try and improve. The same cannot be said for the other 2 main members of TSM, Daequan and Hamlins. Both of them opted to stay home and stream instead of attending and competing in the event. Daequan has said that this was a business decision for him. I wouldn't blame him for wanting to take advantage of the higher stream numbers when everyone else is at PAX, but he is a member of the competitive TSM Fortnite team. In my opinion, Daequan and Hamlin should either fully commit to being competitive Fortnite players, or they should just become content creators with TSM. The post will be met with comments such as, I'm going to be honest here, apart from Myth, I think everyone is half-assing. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Myth actually leaves for another team where he can find teammates that are as driven as he is. While Reddit was clowning on Daequan and Hamlins for their lack of drive, Myth wasn't off the hook either. Articles such as this one would point out that Myth hadn't placed in the top 10 for any game in the 8 weeks worth of Summer Skirmish tournaments. With no 4th player, Daequan and Hamlins deciding not to attend the biggest pro event in Fortnite history, and Myth failing to place in the top 10 even once, we can start to get a pretty good idea as to why TSM as a professional Fortnite team was somewhat laughable, summed up by comments such as this one. I have lost interest in the TSM Fortnite scene, which sucks because not too long ago I was super excited to see the TSM boys playing Friday Fortnite. Myth has the competitive drive but has just been failing week after week. Day and Hams do not even have the drive to play pro anymore it seems, and I've watched numerous good players go to other orgs instead of being TSM's 4th. Myth would then state that due to Daequan and Hamlin's lack of drive to improve as professional players, resentment started to build within the group.
I was really driven to play competitively, and they really weren't. Like, it came to a point where we had to like sit down and have a talk, and I kind of like resented them for that a little bit.
Yeah. Myth wouldn't discuss the extent of the beef, however thankfully it seemed to be at a low enough level for them to continue making videos in the house together. But with differing goals and time being against you when it comes to maintaining friendships, the group seemed to slowly drift every single month, and with such came a further decline in their performance.
Sadly, game 1 didn't go too well, but yeah.
When looking through old placings for Daequan, Hamlins and Myth, besides from Hamlin's 1 duo first place, the tournament placings were generally unimpressive compared to say FaZe or Liquid. TSM had been signing some other Fortnite players outside of the official pro team, such as Cowboy and Zexro, which became somewhat comical after a Reddit user noticed Zexro has almost earned more than their entire pro roster combined. However, at this point in time, their tournament earnings and professional performance was of little concern, as their external battles would slowly become internal battles. On the 14th of December 2019, Hamlins would post a tweet stating, "Y'all ever just start crying but don't know why? Current mood, love you guys, and good night/good morning," while Daequan would post a tweet longer in the same month stating, "I went through so much BS this year and I learned so much from it all, but I hate how this year went for me. I'm disappointed in myself in terms of how much I streamed. I hate how much I haven't posted to YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, etc." With Camille's completely removed from the team, Hamlins and Daequan fighting their own demons, and Myth's popularity following a downward trend, they would announce that the TSM house would be coming to an end in early 2020, with each creator moving into their own place.
I bought a house,
and I bought my car, you know what I'm saying? So we gonna be moving into a new place this week, actually. We gonna have a lot of streams, bro.
However, despite Daquan saying that they would be streaming loads after moving out, if you've seen our videos on the disappearance of Daquan and Hamlins, you'll know that only 1 week after moving out of the TSM house, they would go completely silent on all social media, at which point the pressure would go back over to the only remaining active member, TSM Myth.
Hey guys, I'm not Channel 7 effing news, and I ain't got the daily scoop on Daquan or Hamlins, so stop asking me. If Day or Hams wanted y'all to know about how they were doing, they would tell you guys. That's the facts, so leave it be.
Daquan and Hamlins would stay silent for 18 months, returning in August 2021.
We back and we taking over! Yes, sir!
However, they would simultaneously announce that they wouldn't be returning to TSM and instead joining the Fortnite group NRG. While Myth was extremely excited to witness their return,
I really just want to say how happy I am that they like still got that fucking energy, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
it didn't actually matter whether or not they went back to TSM, it was already too late. Because midway through their hiatus, on the 2nd of February 2021, TSM would announce that the organization was departing from competitive Fortnite altogether, somewhat of a theatrical ending to what started as the most hopeful competitive Fortnite group in the game's history.
We're cool, but we're not like really close friends, and we don't really talk consistently anymore, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Okay. In the middle, right in the middle. Then I can.
Any question about my personal life, ban them. No, I don't got any friends, dude. No person deserves this kind of ridicule. Like, I hate my fucking life at this point. My grandma's dying. I spend my entire life sitting in this room. I had $1,400 worth of chargebacks come out, and all you do is get picked on and criticized. That's my life. Most of you guys would crack under the stress that these people put me through. I just want to escape the bullying. I do. People make fun of me and pick at me. I'm pretty much defeated in every aspect of my life. You know, I have no self-esteem to begin with, and I feel like nobody loves me, but guess what? It's okay. He's an easy target.
If you haven't heard of his name before, I guarantee you're definitely not going to forget it from this point onwards.
I detest this game. I hate you too. Come on! Honestly, can you stop, Cuzzo? Ban everybody that says I got on. I'm done. I'm sorry, I'm done with the stream.
Geordie Jordan, aka Wings of Redemption, was born on the 21st of April 1986 into what you might call unfortunate circumstances. His birth had been the result of a teenage pregnancy, and due to the young age of his parents, Geordie would be raised with the help of his grandparents in their trailer park home. At the age of 2, his father, an alcoholic, would abandon the family entirely, giving us a pretty clear idea of the unfortunate means by which Wings of Redemption had been brought into the world. However, while the circumstances were far from desirable, as Geordie Jordan entered school, he would begin to excel in sports, claiming to be one of the most athletic people in his class. That would be until a physically gifted foreign exchange student joined his year, placing Geordie in second place for most school sporting events. In order to counteract this, Geordie explained that he began to eat more during dinner time under the assumption that it would help him grow faster, hopefully giving him a physical advantage over his opponents. However, this would cause Geordie to begin gaining excessive weight, ultimately leading to a sporting underperformance and isolation into the fantasy world of video games. In the process of this, his family, including his brother and single mum, would move from his grandparents' trailer park home into low-income government housing, where Geordie Jordan would continue to gain weight while further isolating himself from society. By the age of 14, he had reached approximately 240 pounds or 110 kilograms, also being diagnosed with bipolar and social anxiety disorder, adding to the isolation even further. To counteract this, Geordie Jordan would begin to take on various low-skilled jobs in order to get out of the house more often, as well as earn himself a little bit of income. In his late teens, he would take on various positions such as working at a video rental store, a supermarket as a 911 operator, and even as a Domino's pizza delivery driver. However, he found many of these to be boring and unstimulating, often leading him to quit within only 2 weeks of starting. However, at the age of 18, Geordie Jordan would finally get into a position which he was able to hold for some period of time, specifically a job working for a company by the name of Metglass.
What I did at Metglass is I was an overhead crane operator for blast furnaces that basically poured liquid metal and things out, kind of like Terminator 2.
While working Working at MetGlass in 2007, Geordie and another friend by the name of Z7 Taylor would play Call of Duty in the evenings, also starting to regularly watch sniper montages over on YouTube. In the process, Geordie thought about making his own videos, however, given his busy work schedule, would dismiss the idea as he had minimal time for doing so. However, in 2008, an event would occur that presented itself as a negative in the beginning, however would turn out to be a huge turning point in his life, the global financial crisis. Geordie explained that since he was one of the more expensive employees at MetGlass, he was one of the first to lose their job as business profits began to tumble.
They started laying people off, and one of the people that got laid off was me because I was one of the newer employees, and I was also getting paid more than most of the employees on the flag factory floor.
He would then be put on government unemployment payments, which in combination with his previous employment history seemed to dampen Geordie Jordan's confidence in relation to his ability to hold down a job working for someone else.
If you think I could hold a job down, you're kidding yourself. The reason I don't get a job is I can't hold one down.
However, there was one advantage to come out of this whole situation. Suddenly, Geordie Jordan had all the time in the world. His friend Z7 Taylor had started making his own Call of Duty videos, and noticing the success of them
because I seen Taylor and his channel, and I love reading the comments, so I'm like, damn.
He would order a HD PVR capture card and begin to record his own high-definition Call of Duty videos in his newly found free time. Geordie Jordan would then register a YouTube channel under the name Wings of Redemption, taking the name from an inscription on King Tut's tomb which stated, "Death shall come quick on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king." But while making a brand new channel was extremely exciting for Wings of Redemption, he wouldn't even make it past his first video before embroiling himself in some level of controversy. In his very first video, Wings felt the need to stick up for a Call of Duty strategy known as camping, where the player would stay in one location for a prolonged period of time and wait for players to come to him instead of the other way around.
Some people think I'm a camper, which I am a camper.
The strategy was common but often frowned upon by players who are more aggressive, and as a result, his comment section would fill up by many who opposed his playstyle. However, on the opposite end of the spectrum, people also respected Wings for his honesty and his unapologetic nature towards the strategies that he preferred, and as a result, he began to build an audience. Given the almost non-existent competition on YouTube at the time, Wings would quickly become one of the fastest growing creators on the platform, and with such he began to gain the attention of other large Call of Duty YouTubers, specifically one by the name of Woody's Gamertag.
Hi, this is Woody, the Unexceptional Gamer, and I make Call of Duty videos designed to help my unexceptional brethren do better in the game.
Woody's Gamertag had begun YouTube at around the same time as Wings, and in order for them to share their audience with one another, they would begin to post dual commentary videos.
Hey guys, it's Woody, the Unexceptional Gamer, and I'm doing a dual com with Wings of Redemption today.
Also starting a podcast together by the name of Painkiller Already, or PKA for short.
Hello guys, this is Painkiller Already, and I'm your host, Geordie Jordan, aka known as Wings of Redemption, for anybody else who can't put two and two together.
In this podcast, Wings would continue with his strong opinions and unapologetic attitude on topics relating to Call of Duty. However, with such, would also begin to gain a reputation as a guy who would constantly respond to those who shared differing opinions. While Wings' goal was to subdue the negative feedback by responding to it, it instead seemed to amplify it, as his audience noticed that the best way to get attention from Wings was to simply leave a negative comment, which Wings often struggled to ignore. In addition to this, Wings would begin to show his face more regularly in his videos, prompting negative comments in relation to his weight. However, despite clearly being on the heavier side, his subscriber count was mediated by his gameplay rather than his physical appearance, and by August 2011, Wings of Redemption had peaked as the 281st most subscribed channel on all of YouTube, with a little over 300,000 subscribers, and for all intents and purposes, Wings of Redemption's YouTube channel seemed to be chugging along just fine. That would be until the 67th episode of the Painkiller Already podcast, where the tragedy of Wings of Redemption would really set into motion after one of, if not the most notorious Call of Duty events in YouTube history. To spice things up on this episode of the podcast, Woody and Wings would invite another streamer and YouTuber on by the name of Syndicate, who Woody described to be
the best Call of Duty Zombies player on the planet.
Possibly feeling subconsciously threatened by Syndicate's channel and Call of Duty skill, Wings was, quote, wildly disrespectful to Syndicate throughout the stream.
I could put up a fight against, you know, in like COD 4 Modern Warfare 2 World of War, but then throw me in against Black Ops.
You would get destroyed in World of War. I have never lost.
In addition to this, Wings would go ahead and state that
He says that he'd be much better at zombies on his first game. He doesn't even play zombies, but if he were to, he'd be much better than the best player on the planet.
In order to settle the dispute, Wings and Syndicate would agree to 1v1 each other in multiplayer.
What, you wanna go M16s on Bog right now?
That could go. I'd do it for the fun of it. I'd go for it.
Let's do it.
So what map are we playing?
With game rules that favored Wings as opposed to
He
Syndicate.
lays lays it all out there, so it's to his advantage.
Just to top it all off, the match was hosted on USA servers, favoring Wings and giving Syndicate a massive disadvantage due to lag as he was located in the UK. There was no way that Wings could possibly lose this match, as the odds were completely stacked in his favor, or so he thought. The winner would be the first player to reach 30 kills, or whoever had the most kills at the 10-minute mark. After 9 minutes of intense back and forth, Syndicate had 13 kills, while Wings only had 9 with less than a minute remaining. Realizing that there was no way he could catch up, Wings would announce that,
yeah, I probably won't be on Painkiller Ready again.
Which was followed by events that I think are best experienced by simply watching the real footage.
Wings, did you spawn in?
I broke my controller.
You broke your controller?
Yeah, keep laughing, you.
Okay.
Why the you stream that shit?
The fuck did you stream that shit?
It was your idea.
No, I didn't say stream it.
In front of 7,000 live viewers, after hours of trash talk, Wings was humiliated with 9 kills as opposed to Syndicate's 14. Geordie's reaction led his audience to realize one simple thing. Wings of Redemption was not this famous Call of Duty hero who took a romantic risk by starting YouTube. No, he was an immature man-child who happened to catch the Call of Duty YouTube wave while living on unemployment. The difference between his online persona and true personality had finally shone through, and in case Wings' reputation hadn't deteriorated enough already, this was really only the beginning. Syndicate will post a screenshot to his Twitter the following day, displaying a conversation in which Wings had requested that they play again in a fixed match, where Syndicate would let Wings win with the goal of restoring Geordie's reputation. The screenshot would end with Syndicate stating, "You want to come out on top of this situation, you just made it 10 times worse," as well as, "No way Wings, you just blew it big time." Wings' videos would then begin to fill with comments regarding his childish reaction to the loss. However, rather than rectifying it by stating that Syndicate won fair and square, Wings would paint himself as the victim of the situation, stating that the reason he didn't win the match was because Woody hadn't set the rules correctly. In addition to this, he would upload videos talking about the many problems that he'd been dealing with, uploaded with the assumed goal of garnering sympathy from his viewer base.
There's been so much stress with sub box breaking, the view count thing, losing the 1v1, all the haters, all the loss of subs. I've actually gained 20 pounds because all I've been doing is worrying and eating.
The problem was that attempting to garner sympathy ended up having the opposite effect on his reputation, as the approval seeking did nothing but display his overwhelming lack of confidence. This lack of personal confidence also began to manifest itself in videos where Wings would talk about his weight, stating that he had gained approximately 100 pounds from comfort eating since his reputation began to decline. In order to combat this, Wings would move in with a newer member of the PKA podcast, Kyle, where Kyle would act as his personal trainer, giving him an exercise routine and cooking him healthy food for every single meal. Kyle had even spent $5,000 to rebuild his shower.
And if he was going to live with me, we would have to put in a new shower. So construction began the next day on a $5,000 shower,
stating that it would have been too small for Wings to fit in. However, despite Kyle putting in an incredible effort to help Wings, after only a week, Wings had requested to leave. Kyle convinced him to stay for another 3 weeks, leaving after having lost an impressive 40 pounds. Upon returning home, Geordie would hire a personal trainer. However, problematically, given his lack of discipline and the return to his old environment, Wings would gain the weight back in the few weeks following his return home. Despite having left Kyle's house, this wouldn't be the last time that they hung out. Approximately 5 months later, the 3 main members of the PKA podcast, being Woody, Kyle, and Wings, agreed to go on a survival-style camping trip in the woods together. Kyle traveled 3 hours from his house to the location at which they agreed to meet, which was followed by a call to Wings checking to see how far away he was. This would be the point at which Woody and Kyle's continually compassionate attitude towards Wings would finally dissipate.
I'm driving in the night before. Let me give old Wings a call, make sure we're all good to go here, you know? Call him up, say, hey man, get ready to do this thing. I'm driving in now, about 3 hours from the place. What are you up to? He's like, I'm not going. What? What do you mean? I'm not coming. When were you going to tell me? I'm telling you right now.
Wings had left Kyle and Woody to camp by themselves, resulting in Wings alienating his final 2 YouTube friends and ultimately being kicked off the PKA podcast.
Yeah, so we've decided, it was a group decision, we decided that Wings of Redemption wasn't going to continue with us on the show for at least the foreseeable future. He's got a lot of stuff that he needs to work out before he's, up to par with what we need from him. He's having a hard time. And he's made some decisions that we didn't feel were so friendly. So for the time being, we're gonna continue without him.
It would then become apparent that Wings was questioning whether or not he wanted to continue as a YouTuber, stating that he would like to quit YouTube. However, the status it provided made such a decision extremely difficult.
I know what I need to do. What I need to do is quit YouTube and move on with my life, but at the same time, this is the high point so far in my life. It's hard to walk away from having access to 50,000 people. Basically being able to get advice at any time of the day, any day of the week. Hard to walk away from, you know, being somebody of importance to going back into a world where you're nobody.
However, perhaps the end of Geordie's YouTube channel was out of his control, because by this point, his subscriber count had already begun to decline. The release of Black Ops, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2, as well as the increasing simplicity of creating video content meant that Wings had substantially more competition for the videos that he was creating. With a dying channel and absolutely no one else to turn to, Wings would begin to upload variety videos on games such as Fallout and Final Fantasy in a desperate attempt to slow the death of his channel.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to my Fallout 4 playthrough.
He would also attempt to recapture his old fame by covering Call of Duty drama and starting a new podcast called The Podcast Show with other washed up Call of Duty streamers like Whiteboy 7th Street. However, these would also fail to slow the death of his channel. In addition to all of this, Wings would break up with a girl he had been dating at the time by the name of Brandy, which depressed him even further, dropping his motivation to lower and lower levels. From this, Wings of Redemption would move over to Twitch, stating that it required less editing, and through donations and subscriptions, he was able to make more money than he ever could while on YouTube. And while this was a positive, in a strange backwards kind of way, this extra income would come to him alongside an equivalent amount of emotional stress and further unexpected problems. The lack of editing and live nature of the streams meant that Wings' personality was on full display, warts and all. This meant that if something annoyed him within the game, there was no way to simply cut it out as he had on YouTube, and anyone watching was able to record whatever reaction Wings happened to have. Wings would break controllers, complain extensively,
Headache, I'm hot, my sugar's low, somebody drank all my Pepsis,
as well as constantly rage. As a result, channels began to pop up such as Sean Ranklin, Xbottle, and Gulag Kingpin, all of which devoted to uploading Wings of Redemption's worst moments. This created a meme community around trolling Wings, where viewers would often recreate his most common actions, such as banning subscribers from the chat, drinking Pepsi, and eating Wendy's chili, done for the sole purpose of getting videos for these specific troll channels.
because if I talk about anything on everything, there's a video made about it and there's 20,000 people laughing at me, or there's a podcast with 100,000 viewers.
All of this would lead up to an apex in a stream on one unassuming night in late 2017, at which point Wings would do something which many consider to be the most iconic moment in the history of Wings of Redemption. The live stream started like any other. However, as with many of his streams, it wouldn't be long before half the lobby was there purely to stream snipe and annoy Geordie Jordan.
Ah, damn it, dude.
As the night progressed, the stream sniping only got worse. Then, in order to combat the stream snipers, his viewers suggested that he appear offline, to which Geordie responded with,
Look here! Look, listen! Appearing offline does not stop it. So stop giving advice you know nothing about.
possibly paving the way for the breakdown which he was about to have. The stream sniping continued, and feeling helpless to the circumstances he had found himself in, Wings of Redemption would respond with the following.
I don't know when I'll stream again. I really need to make this fucking money. I really wanted to get this surgery, man. I wanted it so bad. I just can't do it. I can't take this no more, man. All I wanted to do was, like, I was lonely. I wanted to stream and have a good time, man. Have a good game. I hate my life.
The clip has gained 2.6 million views to this day, and just like his last rage, the clip would go on to continually haunt him. However, unlike his last rage, where he would have to simply deal with comments, this time around, his trolls would go to much more effort, joining his games in order to play the content through the speaker.
Look here! Look! Appearing offline does not stop. So stop giving... All right, your boy, did you invite him?
While giving more fuel to the growing number of troll channels. One of these channels goes by the name of Liquid Richard, who has to date uploaded 4 full-length professionally produced albums, all of which being made from the stupid things that Wings has said over the years, which is especially hilarious as the music is unironically extremely well made and entertaining. From the point of his notorious COD World War II rage, the Wings of Redemption cycle continued over and over again. He would do something stupid, attempt to prove that he was in the right, resulting in even more trolls. Or he would attempt to improve his life in some way or another, fail miserably, and be publicly ridiculed by his detractors. He would get weight loss surgery in Mexico, apparently lose 100 pounds, never prove it, and still look the exact same 2 years later. He would continue to ban trolls from the chat, giving them the exact attention they desired, ensuring that they rejoin at a later date on a second account.
Exotic's been banned 9 times. Him giving his free Twitch Prime to me is not going to stop him from being banned at this point.
It was as if in every situation, it was impossible for Wings of Redemption to choose a response that wouldn't end in complete and utter catastrophe. Seemingly consistent with the overwhelming misfortune in Geordie Jordan's life, only 2 months ago on the 26th of July 2021, his Twitch partnership would be revoked for breaking Exhibit D of the content guidelines, as explained on a Wings of Redemption YouTube livestream titled Twitch Fallout.
Twitch took my partnership away today for Exhibit D.
Geordie then stated that he may leave the internet and get a real job.
Everybody in the chat's telling me to get a job. And, you know, that's a possibility.
However, if his past has taught us anything, the chance of that actually happening is unbelievably low. Wings continues to stream on YouTube, however the dislike ratio and a short look at the chat gives us a pretty good idea of how many people are there for no other reason but to continue to troll him. I was watching a video created by one of my favorite YouTubers the other day, Exerbia, who included a line in his video Thoughts from Your Deathbed, which I think runs incredibly true to the tragic tale of Wings of Redemption. The hard road was easy, while the easy road was hard. Wings of Redemption has spent his entire life attempting to walk the easy road, avoiding anything that would result in short-term adversity. However, through seeking comfort, he's ironically transformed his life into a complete and utter tragedy. It's as if you can't really avoid the tragedy of life, but the choice we get is whether or not we want to experience the tragedy now by our own voluntary admission, or whether we ignore what we need to do and have the tragedy happen to us later down the road, as is what happened in the case of Wings of Redemption.
Wings of Redemption. What? Not in the video, bro. He did before life.
Make music no more. Like, he was like the reason I made music.
Reality is hit Lil Xan now. You feel me? The money probably not coming in the same way.
Stat's trying to get 30 grand out of him to finish up the balance on the
G-Wagon.
G-Wagon.
On the
and
G-Wagon.
he don't got 30 grand for it.
30 grand when he had who knows how much money
Bro,
at one
that's a
point.
reality.
Like,
I would, I will cut
right?
my arm off if Lil Xan has $30,000.
It was just 3.5 years prior that on the very same podcast, Lil Xan was sitting back and bragging about owning 3 different Los Angeles apartments.
I have the same one 10 floors up now.
Really?
Yep.
What? Don't you have another one down the street
Yep.
too?
And another one on the same floor.
Why do you have 3 apartments?
One for my parents, one for me and Eli, my hacker, and then one for the hose.
The hose?
Despite once being in what seemed like an unlosable situation, it was obvious that over the long run, Lil Xan's failure was not only inevitable but deserved, and it all began with what seemed to be a poor work ethic dating all the way back to high school.
So I failed every class up until I dropped out freshman year. I just cannot sit down for 7 hours a day.
Now, we shouldn't make the argument that poor grades in school automatically result in a poor work ethic over the long term. There are simply too many examples of mediocre people performing terribly in school before going on to achieve greatness in a different field. However, there's a bit of a difference between finishing school with bad grades and failing every single class before dropping out in your freshman year of high school, as was the case with Lil Xan, establishing what you might call something like a predisposed naturally poor work ethic.
They could never get Xan to do the shit that he actually had to do for his career. Like, I remember talking to Stat about it, and he was constantly frustrated.
There are going to be numerous examples throughout this video of Lil Xan often being unable to do the work whenever it was required. We already discussed him dropping out of school in his freshman year, but it continued into the beginning of his music career when he failed to show up to countless meetings with other big rappers who had given him an opportunity.
He kept missing the meetings.
When at less than 2,000 followers, he'd be noticed by an individual named DJ Fu, who wanted to take Lil Xan to meet a potential manager by the name of Stat Quo, who was an old school sober rapper and manager who had worked with Eminem in the past.
If it wasn't for this guy, I would literally never have been discovered, never met Stat We wouldn't be doing the No Jumper day in the life.
However, as mentioned just prior, despite this insanely insanely big opportunity while still at such a small follower count, Little Xan kept missing the meetings, either as a result of being disorganized or because he thought the meetings were too good to be true.
It's LA. You can't believe everybody. It's LA.
It was a time when SoundCloud rappers were popping up left, right, and center to the point that it was becoming a meme. Lil Peep, Lil Skies, Lil Pump with Gucci Gang.
Is Lil Pump actually an artist? Is he a rapper that is truly worth taking seriously? The border between being a musician and being a meme.
So when a song was released to Lyrical Lemonade titled Betrayed, sung by an artist with a name as stupid as Lil Xanax, people had to click to see if it was a meme or not.
People clicked on it because they were like, we gotta hear what a Little Xan sounds like, you know what I mean? And then they were actually like pleasantly surprised.
The song was actually pretty decent, creating a perfect storm exploding its popularity.
I've always said that it was just like the perfect combination of the name, the thumbnail, the title, the actual song itself.
It blows my mind, bro.
And shortly thereafter, it would become the most viewed video on all of Cole Bennett's Lyrical Lemonade.
Just how quickly you went from a total nobody to somebody that everybody knew.
It's crazy.
It was so shocking, even for me being like really close to it.
However, countless comments along the lines of, if he kept making music like this, he wouldn't be a joke, hint that after this project, he would be considered as somewhat of a one-hit wonder, as 6 months later he released his long-anticipated first studio album, which would be met with many negative reviews from individuals like Anthony Fantano.
We're not even at the halfway point of the year yet, and this is one of the worst things I've heard all year.
Whilst failing to achieve a professional review higher than 2 out of 5 stars, or more than 5 out of 10. The reasoning for the poor release would be discussed by Adam22 at a later date, and it was what you might call unsurprising.
Like, I remember when Lil Xan's album came out, right? And I remember having a conversation with Stat and being like, what do you think of the album? Because it was pretty obvious that the album was bad. Xan put in like no work for the album. And I remember having that conversation with him. And if it was up to Stat, Xan would have been sitting in the studio recording every night, and instead he was just doing drugs and having random ass girls come over every night.
The other issue might have been that after the insane success of his single Betrayed, Lil Xan might have been lured into a false sense of security about his future and talent as an artist. He might have felt as though he could now relax a little bit and take his foot off the gas, resulting in one incredible banger to lead the album, followed by 15 other mediocre songs. This is the self-described reason behind why T-Pain's rap career eventually failed, and could certainly have been the same story with Lil.
How to random color object in Blender. Okay. Auto random. Okay, thank you. Do it. Blender. Okay, it's still showing my fish and I don't have time.
All right, and this very quick, it creates a new colors. And in this, press Shift D to duplicate, and then in green. First thing I'm going to do, just so it looks better, I'm going to go ahead and change info. Drop back. I'll put the object info node along a spectrum of display. But if you want it to,
okay, sharp edges in objects in blend. There's a video that explains this thing. Do I still have it here with me? Let's check the playlist. Game Jam Topics and whatever. I don't care, bro, about that. My playlist. I have a playlist somewhere. Tutorial videos. Oh man, this Blender is this way. That video plays like an hour or something, I'm not sure. Yeah, this is what I
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Blender 2.8 beginner tutorial. In this one, we're going to be creating some low poly vehicles. So this should be a lot of fun. It should be really informative, getting used to hardware art thing. Do weak nicely in Eevee. Also gaming chairs, and this check out the response low poly vehicles. In fact, we're going to be creating a low there, and it's just a basic sedan car. X-ray. So this will allow us to still see our back up. So we can, somewhere, and we can put a cut all the things hard to see. So what you can do is right here and our car here. So I'm gonna grab the by pulling that out just to give, and then I'm gonna pull these around here. There we go.
Okay,
it should be a total of 8. And now I'm gonna hit E to extrude and S to scale. And here's where the magic.
I think it's this one.
It extrudes it up. This is really useful when it comes to low poly modeling. You can click on any. By default, it's using medium point, which is in the center here, but we'll switch this one to individual origins. And now when you scale it, it just scales it along its own individual phase origin here. So maybe that's what you're after. Then having this cavity enabled can make the low. The second most common question I get in all my comments is I changed my viewports.
Shit, this is what I was looking for, man. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? This is like in this setting here. What? I just, bruh, I just needed to click that and come here and shit, bruh. How did I forget this, bruh? Okay, texture. I don't know what I'm doing, bruh. Shadows and shit. There is starting to look like a chest now. This is what I was looking for, bruh. Look at this. Look at these, bruh. Shadows. Okay, it makes sense now. Okay. This is a chest, like in a. Okay, let's do this. Come back to edit mode. Okay, I don't know. I don't want to edit, but yeah. This. Okay, this comes here like that. Okay, come back to mode, to the other mode, and duplicate. I would like to turn this shit like that. 180, and take it to this side. Just come on. I don't even know if it's in the right place, but come on, okay. Okay. Right. Another duplicate. Let's head was. The thing in the center is in the center. Okay. This side. No, I moved my mouse. In the center. I was not saving what I was doing. Okay, so download the Blender projects. This is a chest, right? Chest. Fuck this. Chest. Save. Later I wanna make a mix, track mix.
Settings a little bit, and people are asking how I get about.
Okay. This guy's still going very far.
To do that, my comments is I changed my viewport. The second most common question I get in all my comments is I changed my view.
Gravity, is it gravity? Clarity. Oh, clarity. Look at this. Look at this, bro. Look at this. How to, bro. Okay. He does this like screen, clarity, mini, bone, both. What? Bruh. Just look at this, bro. It looks done, bro. And then where do we fuck around with veil, whatnot?
Viewport settings a little bit, and
this guy really goes okay there, and then when there, I don't even know how this options works, but yeah, rig. No. I would like it to be a bit down here. Why I can't do this? Bruh, look at these, bruh. It looks done, bruh. Outline. Oh, okay. Let's go back to the video.
Zan.
Everybody's like, it's downhill from here. The analogy was, if you pedal up the hill, you can coast afterwards.
Right,
You
okay.
can just stop working. You have to keep working. What they don't tell you is that you coast, totally fine. There's another hill. So, you gotta keep going.
From Lil Xan's perspective, he would state that the poor performance of the album wasn't his fault, and was instead the fault of his management.
I dropped like a mixtape that got way more like positive reviews than my album, and it should have been my album because my first album wasn't put together by me. It was put together by my management, and you know, I love my management, but I mean they fucked my first album completely up to the point where I didn't even pick the track list or like what songs were going on. It was so rushed.
However, this just revealed another one of Lil Xan's flaws, a lack of personal responsibility. Now, we don't know whose fault it was that the first album flopped, but in reality it's usually a mix of both parties and is rarely the fault of one person or another. However, Lil Xan is the artist. If you release something publicly under your name and it sucks, you unfortunately have to own the failure. Plus, most of the time, even if it wasn't your fault, people like you way more when you just say, yeah, it was my fault, because it displays humility and the desire to improve. Anyway, despite his first album being a bit of a flop, Lil Xan was still able to maintain his popularity after the initial blow up, because when you look past the dopey personality, minor victim complex, and actually watch him on one of these podcasts, he's a surprisingly likable dude. He's not an arrogant douchebag like, for example, Lil Pump, and generally speaking, he's honest and transparent about the good and bad in his life.
You talk about anything, like, if you ask me anything, I'll be like, yeah.
His stupid stories about having multiple threesomes in the space of a week make him entertaining to watch and listen to, making him somewhat of a celebrity as opposed to a rapper.
All the interviews with Lil Xan always like they get as much as damn near some of my music videos. You know what I mean? Right now at this moment in my career, I'm more of a celebrity than a rapper. You feel me? Because I can't leave the crib without 10 kids coming up to me right as I leave the door.
However, by the same token, the amount of stories that he has, which are to some extent based on poor life decisions, openly displays his lifestyle filled with a never-ending cycle of short-term pleasure. And this is the problem with so many of these SoundCloud rappers. The branding by default is the glorification of drugs, bringing hoes over to the crib every night, taking out loans to buy cars, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, expensive jewelry. They become so famous and successful while living this kind of life that they actually think that they're on the right path, when in reality, real long-term sustainable success is, at least in part, determined by your ability to avoid these temptations. The other problem with living this kind of lifestyle is that it's usually accompanied by a multitude of poor financial decisions. In the beginning, Lil Xan seemed convinced that this wasn't who he was.
Do you go crazy hard with expensive clothes and jewelry and ridiculous bullshit, or do you hold on to it? What's going on in your lives right now?
I'm not into the whole, I'm in the grills and like MCM, like I have like a chain, but like it's not like so expensive. It's expensive, not expensive. expensive. I'm not into the whole jewelry.
However, only 6 months later, in a video posted to YouTube once again by No Jumper, this seemed to have changed, as Lil Xan's out-of-control spending habits and lack of respect for valuable items was put on full display. He'd start by mentioning that he would take any sponsorships as he was low on cash at the time.
Moneybag Cream Soda, you wanna sponsor me? Do it. I will take any endorsements. I'm broke.
However, he'd then go on to talk about and reenact himself smashing his TV.
I got so mad, I literally walked up in this the other day. I took this skateboard and I was like, then I'm like, I'm mad.
Laugh about ruining a $1,200 hoodie after leaving it on the floor.
So everything's on the floor. Expensive hoodies, $1,200 on the drain.
And then go on to purchase 2 copies of the game Destiny with the goal of showing the store some love.
And honestly, 2 copies of Destiny, like, dude, let's play something else, you know?
Now, you could probably make the argument that this was just Lil Xan spending big whilst the camera was in his face. However, there was plenty of evidence to suggest that off camera, he was also quite unwise with his money. For example, in another No Jumper podcast, he'd talk about how he'd take 7 of his friends to Universal Studios and pay for everyone's entry just to buy 1 drink before leaving.
I'll take all my homies. I'll spend $700 to take 7 of my friends in there. Just to get Butterbeer, and we did. And I don't film it or nothing.
In addition to this, Lil Xan would take out a loan to purchase a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon, the price of which starting at around $130,000 US.
I'm about to get a G-Wagon.
Nice.
My favorite car, dream car.
Now, if we ignore the fact that Lil Xan would go on to key his own car whilst angry at a later date,
I just did this to my car. Scratched it, keyed it up. I just bought a key all the way.
The levels of stupidity for this purchase go pretty deep. Taking out a loan to buy a car, moron. Taking out a loan to buy a luxury car just to flex on social media, double moron. Taking out a loan to buy a luxury car just to flex on social media whilst working in a creative profession where you could fall off at any moment, triple moron.
Yo, welcome to Darth Vader. This is my new whip. She's like a 9 out of 10. She ain't like a 10. But she's pretty bad. This is my first car.
However, the stupidity of his G-Wagon purchase was compounded even further when he would host a public event that would ultimately result in an extra $100,000 fine. On the 21st of December 2017, just before he'd buy the car, Lil Xan would make a tweet which read as follows. If you live in the Inland Empire/LA area and want to meet me tonight, pull up to 100 to 110 North 5th Street, Redlands, CA 92373, United States at 7:30. Now, it's hard to call Xan an idiot for this one. It was still early in his career and the tweet was made only 4 hours prior to the meeting time. He probably expected just a couple of people to show up for photos and autographs, considering the location was also on the very outskirts of LA. Well, as you might guess, this isn't what happened. Around 2,000 people showed up, cars and streets were damaged, and ultimately the police would have to send in the helicopter unit before Lil Xan was arrested for his own safety.
I gave like a 4-hour notice. I was heading to my hometown, so I tweeted a location, and then I just expected, like 50 people to show up. That's just how I am. I got there, and this video's on YouTube. It's like 2,000 people.
Wow.
What? But I got fined because a lot of damages to cars and streets.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And the helicopters came out, and it's like 10 grand every helicopter. It was like Project X with the
It was a $100K bill.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Another $100K.
Lil Xan would go on to state that the event postponed his purchase of the G-Wagon.
Do you feel like you learned your lesson about that?
My manager said that it postponed my me getting a G-Wagon, so I was a little upset. But.
Which could also be interpreted as, over the long run, he was now $100,000 further from owning the car outright.
They sent him a bill for 100 racks, and then I remember having a conversation with him after that. And he's like, damn, bro, like, now it's gonna take me so much longer to pay this G-Wagon off.
Another rapper who owned one of these cars was Mac Miller, who happened to be Lil Xan's biggest inspiration in the beginning.
Who's like your biggest inspiration in terms of rapping?
Mac Miller, yeah.
Mac Miller, he's sick, right?
Yeah, like he's like a big inspiration. Like,
however, when Mac would unfortunately die only 9 months later, this also seemed to have an effect on Lil Xan's desire to make music.
I'd be like legit crying, like in my crib, like this ain't true, bro. Like Mac did not overdose. Mac's still alive. Mac's still here. I just saw Mac 2 weeks ago. When your hero dies, I don't want to make music no more. Like, he was like the reason I made music.
In this same interview, Lil Xan would also talk extensively about his desire to quit music and simply become a public figure.
So that's why I'm not doing music. Like, after I finished my contract with Columbia, I didn't know what I was signing up for. I'm more of a celebrity than a rapper at this point, so that's why I'm quitting rapping.
And at the end of the day, if he's not enjoying music, the tracks that he does put out won't have the required level of effort in order to compete with other artists who are giving it their all. Lil Xan's attempt to leave music and rather become a celebrity/public figure didn't really work either. After an explosive year on Instagram in 2018, his growth would slow dramatically and has been in continual decline for the last 25 months, leading to an Instagram Instagram livestream in December 2021, in which Lil Xan would show that all of his poor decisions from the past were clearly coming back to haunt him.
The industry just doesn't care. They just want you to pump out hit records, and when you're useless to them, just leave you in the dirt. You know.
In this video, Lil Xan would blame his sober, business-minded manager Stat Quo for fueling his drug addiction after he'd supplied Lil Xan with drugs while on tour so he could go out and perform.
And my manager was supplying me with the drugs. He knew all my plugs, so if I couldn't perform because I was withdrawing back then, because yes, I used to be a drug addict, you know, he would call, make calls, send $5,000 out here, $5,000 out here, just to ship the drugs to wherever we're at in the world.
This was just another example of Lil Xan's victim complex and lack of personal responsibility.
So what's he do? He decides, oh, I'm gonna go on my Instagram story, I'm gonna blame my drug addiction on Stat Quo. It's completely disingenuous. He needed to rely on his manager, who doesn't even do drugs, to get him drugs. Does this make sense to anybody? No. At a certain point, you just have to accept that like your problems are your own, and that you can't just run around playing the victim.
After many accused Lil Xan of snitching on his manager, despite he being the one with the drug addiction, Lil Xan would respond by stating that you can't snitch if you're not a gang member.
Oh, you're a snitch now, bro. He didn't make you do that, all this stuff. Like, bro, how am I a snitch? Did I go to court and rat on my gang? I don't have a gang. You can't snitch if you're not a gang member, bro. Miss me with that. I'm trying to help other artists in particularly my similar situation.
In the Instagram livestream, Lil Xan would also reveal that his manager had taken the G-Wagon from him, as Lil Xan still owed $30,000 on it, which Lil Xan would state was unreasonable, as he had paid for the majority of it.
Also, he took my car away too, that I paid